What about now?
Perfect.
All is well?
All is well.
Oh, thank God. I thought we were going to switch to something else.
Nope, I like that a lot. Okay, so
All
you
right.
ready?
Good. I'm ready.
On 3 or after 3?
Phone. Hold on. Let me send a text real quick. This feels right.
Who are you sending a text to?
I'm just going to text somebody.
Oh, the little woman.
The little woman. Well, I'm about to go and do not disturb for about 40 minutes. All right. I'm demanding you put your phone in do not disturb. I need you locked in. First episode back.
What?
Yep. Cunt. Cheeky little fucking cunt. Cheeky cunt bastard.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, hold on, let me. There we go.
Lead us in whenever.
Three, two, one. So here we are, Spence. We're back. It's been a while. It's been a long while. We've had a lot of changes in our lives, and
Some good, some not.
some bad,
Some horrible.
It was weird. But we've had changes. And the sports world has also had changes.
Our personal lives have changed greatly. It's been probably a year since we've actually uploaded. At least a year. I think we've recorded some in the last 6 months. However, those are for the archives.
No, they're deep in the vault. They're buried under the Vatican.
They were all recorded with some sort of, they were recorded with the wrong intentions. I'll say that. But guys, we're official. And although we have armed you all with deep, horrible trust issues, I think we're back. Like, we're taking it slow. I say that, yet we have a website now. We're like official. I think people believe in us just based off of our body of work of about 50 episodes. And that's something that I'm proud of, but it's also a great responsibility. And Ryan's already messing up with the audio, but that's okay.
I received a text.
You're going to check it?
No, I'm not going to check it. I'm doing this with you, and we
check it.
We
check
know what happens when I get on my phone.
Yeah, don't.
We're not going to do that.
What did I tell you right before we got on? I said I demand you to put your phone in do not disturb,
and I did. But that came through my computer, didn't it?
Oh, it came through the computer.
So you know what? Just for you,
it is what it is. No, don't.
Computer is on do not disturb now.
Oh, that's
on
good.
do not disturb now. We're not going to have that problem again.
All right, y'all.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us, if you were subscribed before and this popped up in your feed, happy Thanksgiving, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be thankful for this episode. The rust is there. I can feel it. I can feel the rust. We're going to have to shake it off. However, I'm thankful for a lot this week. I'm thankful for this podcast. I'm thankful for the days off. If you've been enjoying this week with your family, loved ones, I'm happy for you. And now you can enjoy it with us. And I think it's safe to say that Sunday evenings are going to be our preferred recording time. And I think that's how it's going to be going forward. And I think you can expect a new one from us on Monday mornings. We'd love to tag along with you on your commute as Ryan inspects something I can't really tell.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, we're back. Maybe better than ever. Probably not right now. It's been a while.
Honestly, better than
ever.
It's
been a while since I've talked into a microphone like
this. It's wild because I said it was probably a year since we last uploaded. I'm pretty sure our last upload was I think I was living at home at the time.
No, it was
I think it was
summer. No, because we made that one really cursed episode with two women in it.
Oh yeah,
that was summer 21.
Is that one up?
I really hope it's not.
I don't think it is, but like I said, I think that's one of the archived ones.
Yeah, it should be.
I think the last real one that we did that was up was, I think it was around the time James Harden was traded to Brooklyn, and I think I was living at home for like 2 more months. But I've been out of the house for over 2 years now, so that was a while ago. Dude, we are back, and it feels so good, and thankfully, the only reason this is happening, well, one of the few, is because some of the editing has been taken off of my hands and it's going to be a lot easier this time around. I'm excited for that.
Well, yeah, we finally hired an editor, so that's
finally.
That's
but I mean, I think we just we knew that was going to have to be the case.
I mean, yeah, no doubt. I mean, you had too much on your plate.
It's so hard to, one, perform a full-time job, two, cater to you and your needs. I'm
That's true. I'm a needy person.
You are extremely needy. You are a needy
You're my emotional punching bag, and you know this. You signed up for the job. You signed up for the job. You knew what you signed up for.
I did. At birth, I signed up for it. Honestly,
exactly. Yes.
Whether I knew it or not, it was my job.
It was. And
still is. It's my job to lose, and I don't intend on losing that. So that still demands so much of my attention. And then to write up a show, jump on, perform, not just record, but perform. Drop a great performance. Try to at least every week for 30 to 40, maybe an hour, And then to have to stare at your own face and video afterwards and try to mix and edit that. Yeah, forget all that. But all that jargon out of the way. I want us to kick off the episode. Tell me something you're thankful for this NBA season, Ryan. Whether that is, well, I think I know something that's just driving you happy, and I just want you to share it.
I'm real happy. I'm a happy guy most of the time.
Guy. You're wearing a Celtics sweatshirt. Tell them why
you're
happy.
I'm wearing a Celtics sweatshirt right now. And you know why I'm happy? I'm happy because the Boston Celtics are not only the best team in the NBA. This might be the best Boston Celtics team of all time, perhaps.
Bordering. It's early. It's early.
That my point remains. And it feels extra sweet because we didn't think we'd be in the situation. Obviously, we went to the finals last year, and we had a certain level of expectations coming into the season. And rightfully so. We were title favorites for a while. And then, some things happened with our head coach at the time that we don't need to get into per se.
No, I'm glad we weren't recording at that time.
No, me too, because I would have been upset. I would have said regretful things on the internet. The internet's forever.
Would have
people like Will Glover exist, and just that would have been difficult. So anywho,
good name drop.
Yeah, no, I had to slide that
good
one in
name
there.
Good name drop.
So yeah, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for currently interim, soon to be, if not already, permanent head coach Joe Mazzulla. He's done an incredible job succeeding Horny Man, and yeah,
is that our official name on here?
It is, and the offense is so much fun to watch. I mean, tonight, missing Jason Tatum, 1 by 7, no, 1 by 9, I think,
against a good Kings team. That's fair.
A good Kings team had a really ugly fourth quarter. I don't know if you watched, but there were 7 Celtics players in double digits tonight, and it's just awesome. It's so fun watching them play. And this team has gone from a defensive-minded team last year who could play offensively to a phenomenal team on offense this season. It's incredible to watch.
It's
Jason
awesome.
Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Grant Williams is doing his thing. Derek White is consistently playing well. And my favorite, and not for the reason you think, but my favorite is Sam Hauser.
Oh.
Because, yeah, he can shoot the 3 ball. He does everything pretty good.
Long,
but
tall
guy. That haircut. It reminds me of someone and something that was taken from us.
Yeah. Doesn't it? As Celtics,
number 20.
Right?
Number 20.
Yeah, number 20. Mm-hmm. Not Ray Allen. Not that snake.
And if you remember,
Hayward, maybe.
And I'm just gonna say this once, and we don't have to belabor the point because I've been talking a lot and I want to give you your time. But
I'm loving this.
Remember, in that first game,
yes,
we talked right after it happened. I called you. We were both distraught. But when Kyrie Irving, number 11, He wanted he wore number 11 for his father, and he wants to be the reason no one else wears 11, right?
Yeah.
When he threw that lob behind Hayward, and Hayward had to do some acrobatics, and then that whole
Yeah.
thing
Then the
happened.
whole
Yep, yep.
leg. Yep.
I didn't forget that, and I don't think our listeners, whoever we have left, should forget that either.
It's not about
Anyway,
who we have left. It's about
that
who
being
we've
said,
got on the
what are
way.
you thankful for, Spencer?
I am thankful. Well, I can't come off the topic of the Celtics yet. I can't. So is Horny Man just going to be the name because is this a he who shall not be named kind of thing?
You know what? I'd
I
love it
kind
if
of
it
like
was.
that.
I'd
I
love that.
kind of like it because it's nothing. We don't have a reason to hate the man who coached our team last year. However, he did act irresponsibly and did put us in a position where we could have very easily slipped. And I mean, I don't think that. Oh, let's pause. And that's the thing with he who shall not be named. We were in a spot where things could have gotten bad, and then we would have had more reason to dislike the man. However, he left us in the hands of a great coach, Joe Mazzulla, interim coach, soon to be head coach, and I love it. Joe Mazzulla, and you and I were talking about this personally the other day. He's obviously young. He's not the first young head coach in the NBA. Look, come on, we've had a couple of them now, including Will Hardy, our ex-top assistant, who Danny Ainge just stole from us in the offseason, which, whatever happened. I'm happy with Mazzulla, more than happy. But I think he's probably going to rub some guys the wrong way. Some of the old timers, this team, I mean, he's gone on record and said that the team does not practice much. The team you also think about it from this perspective. The guys play a lot of minutes, and I'm usually not for that. But if we're not practicing a lot and we're getting these guys, we're getting wins, we're winning games, and you got to think about it. And he even spoke to this, but let's stack wins early instead of having to play catch up in March and April. Let's stack wins early, and then if we need to, we rest guys later on. Last year, we started the season, I think our worst record was like 16-21, and it was horrible. And we played catch up the rest of the year, and guys could not rest in the second half of the season. And then we get to the finals, and Tatum and Brown are gassed, and understandably so. I'm not making excuses for their performance, and I thought they played well, but obviously down the stretch, the shooting got inefficient and things got a little muddy. But I would love it if we could. We're 16-4, and you made a good point about could this be the best Celtics team ever? Regular season wise, they're on pace. I would say the best Celtics team ever was probably the '86 Celtics. Bird was in the middle of his 3 MVP run. That team only lost 15 games the whole year. Right now, we've only lost 4. I don't know. Like I said, I think guys will start to rest down the stretch as we get into some of these late March, late April games, and as we get ready for the postseason. But nonetheless, this has been an electric start to the season. Tatum's atop the MVP ladder. Joe Mazzulla is maybe Coach of the Year candidate. I mean, well, obviously a candidate, but we could run the table on
I don't know who it would be.
Awards. If Rob Williams comes back soon enough, he could, in time for Defensive Player of the Year, we could run the table on awards, take home the best record. Now, that's not what we're shooting for, but it's a great start.
It's a great start. It looks promising. We've been looking at Banner 18 for the past 3-4 years now, and it feels realer than ever. And to the naysayers, to people who say, okay, it's a hot start, it's not sustainable, this, that, the other, maybe. But also, we're a quarter of the way through the year now. This is where you get into December, January, you find out who a team is, and that team has their identity at this point. The guys have been playing together long enough. They know how to win games. They've been winning games consistently. Once you hit the All-Star break, your team is pretty much set in stone, barring obviously a blockbuster trade, which I don't foresee happening in Boston.
No.
We got our squad. We like what we have. And this is just, I mean, like I said earlier, defying the odds. Also, think about it like this: Gallinari, who was a huge signing for us, he's out. He's gone for the year. He won't even be around in the playoffs. He tore his ACL. He'll be back next year, of course, which is exciting. We'll see
It's
what
fun.
happens.
We'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
what 39-year-old Gallinari looks like.
don't worry about that. Not the point. But yeah, no, it's exciting. It's an
I
exciting
want to
time in
push back
Boston.
on the word huge signing, but complimentary for sure. Because this was a team that you know it as well as I do lacked depth.
Exactly. It was huge for this team. It wasn't like a blockbuster, like,
Right.
yeah, but it
Depth
was
was,
huge for this team.
and when you paired it with the Blake signing, and when you paired it with the Brogdon edition, which the Brogdon edition, I would say for any contender, is huge.
Yeah.
This has been huge. This is the deepest team in the league, I think, just in general, but flat out in the backcourt alone. Smart, Brown, Brogdon. Pritchard is like our fourth guy and might not even see the floor some nights. And then other nights, he's awesome. This team is deep.
And Blake Griffin. Blake
Griffin.
He doesn't play that often. When he does, he actually plays well.
He's a high
he's a
energy
lot of
guy.
fun. He's a lot of fun. You see him on the
Absolutely.
post. You saw him on the bowling post a few days ago. He's having a great time. This is a great spot for him later in his career. I'd love to see him get a ring.
He
I'd love to see
absolutely
him make it to the
deserves
conference
this.
finals.
Guys that the guys that get to this point late in their career, and Blake is not like Melo was at the end of his career. Like a big reason why Blake is in this spot is because of injuries, and it's a shame because we're not very far removed from the days that Blake Griffin was jumping over cars and got a huge max deal with LA just to get traded to Detroit. I would say circumstances, the trade didn't help him to Detroit, but then obviously injuries have just plagued him. And I love that he's embracing a role like this. And it's not the first year he's done it. He did it with Brooklyn. This is a perfect team for him. High energy guy comes in, plays his ass off, tries to grab every single rebound he can. No ego, which is incredible because at one point, Blake Griffin was a top 3 guy in this league.
Absolutely.
And he was in the running for MVPs for several years. And you see him take a role like this. And I think we're finally at the point where guys are willing to do that for this team.
And don't write off his time in Detroit either, because he obviously had difficult injuries in Detroit, but he was averaging, I think, like 18 and 9.
He was still the same guy when he was healthy, for sure. This team, it just speaks to the character of this team. This team is invested in its players. Say what you will about the Jaylen Brown trade rumors or anything else you'd like to, but this team really has doubled down on their draft picks, doubled down on their homegrown guys, and free agents see that. And a guy like Blake, not a huge signing, but guys want to come play for a contender. And I think Boston's finally, after making the finals, after the moves they've made, they've really shown the players that this is a team that's committed to winning. They're willing to spend, and it's working. 16-4 as of Sunday, November 27th.
Yeah, and then just one more thing to touch on. I think a huge aspect of this, and I don't think he gets enough credit. He still gets credit, but I don't think it's near enough. Brad Stevens.
Yes.
Stepping back, going to the front office, taking over after Danny Ainge, which is shoes to fill for sure.
Hard
but
job.
It's hard, and let's call it what it is. When Danny Ainge was head of the front office, players did not want to come to Boston. Players don't trust Danny Ainge unless you're his star. And even then, look what happened to Isaiah. And so Stevens has not only been able to make these amazing moves, put his team in positions to win, and they're winning, but he's rebuilt, or not even rebuilt, he built a good reputation in Boston, Massachusetts for players to want to come play here. I mean, Blake, he said something about amazing environment, healthiest situation he's ever been in. And, we're not far removed from that being an insane thing to say about the Celtics. As much as it pains me to say, it's just that's honest.
Well, and I think we know a big reason for that was the Kyrie thing. Kyrie did not help this team at all. It was a trade that I bemoaned when it happened, but then when he got here, and I think we all did, we all celebrated it. Kyrie was head and shoulders above Isaiah on a basketball level.
That seems like a low blow.
I mean,
that was a cheap shot. That was a cheap shot to the height. I'm going to throw a flag on the play.
Oh, that
Three, three,
that was a
three,
dirty
three put ups for
comment,
Isaiah Thomas right now. Three
and
put ups.
I didn't even know it. Okay, 3 put ups. Isaiah was 5th in MVP voting, and that was awesome. I went on a record and said Isaiah should have a statue built the day
Okay,
that
one.
when he played that crazy stretch when he like got hit in the face, lost a tooth, his sister passed away. He never stopped through injury, through heartbreak. He played. Isaiah Thomas, I have an Isaiah Thomas jersey. I believed in him. I bought his stock.
It's 2.
Okay, still own it. It's that ugly Christmas jersey that the Celtics did, but he was the guy, and it was the only jersey I could afford. Isaiah Thomas 3 put-ups. Underrated stretch in Sacramento. Extremely underrated. I don't think that there's a lot of guys you could have put next to DeMarcus Cousins at that time because of who DeMarcus was. He was very like, showboaty. He thought he was like Dwight Howard, but he wasn't. And Isaiah Thomas has had a nice little run since the Celtics thing, and obviously the hip injury is what I'm speaking about when I say that Kyrie was better than him at that point. But then, the locker room was derailed and tore apart. To this day, Celtics guys still dap up Kyrie, even though he's stomped on Lucky, even though he's only trashed us in the media. And now Kyrie's not a guy I want to talk about a lot because he's already being discussed enough for a bevy of reasons. But you're right. Brad has instilled trust in this team and around the league. And think about how many guys that have played either directly underneath Brad or have seen him coach, know what he's about. Those guys are all over the league now. And so they see him in the front office position and say, that's a guy I know. That's a guy I trust. Danny Ainge was never that. Danny Ainge was always Trader Danny. He's always going to pull the rug out from underneath you and trade you. And there's nothing wrong with making a great deal. Danny always made a great deal. And now he's in Utah, and it looks like he's still doing that. I mean, did you see what they got back for Gobert? Nobody's doubting the abilities of Trader Danny, but there's something to being a place that players want to come, and I think the front office has a great deal with that. Brad has done just that and is an extremely underrated part of this team, even though he's not on the baselines anymore. He is an integral part, and he's extremely involved, and that's underrated.
I mean, absolutely. Okay, so for the sake of everyone else, we'll move on from the Celtics for now.
But I think everybody loves Celtics. Don't people like this team?
None of our friends do, but I think that's more about us. That's because of us. Yeah, no, because we're insufferable.
People who don't have Celtics fans in their lives, I think, love this team. But maybe not. But also, like when the Warriors were fresh on the scene, everybody thought that we all loved the Warriors. That was never me. Like I never loved the Warriors. Like I thought I actually was quite.
I always hated the Warriors, even when even before KD, I hated them.
Well, KD, I still was like, okay, these guys win, so what? But anyway, that's finally us. We win games. I'm happy about it. I love this team. Tell me something. Okay, like you said, non-Celtics related. What's something that you're watching going forward in the near future? It could be something to do with the trade deadline. Could be something, a team, maybe a surprise, maybe a team that you weren't expecting to be good. Maybe a team that you weren't expecting to be this bad. Maybe something that's going on in our own backyards in San Antonio. Wow me. Give me something.
I'm watching for 2 things right now. First of all, I'm watching for the Jazz collapse because
it's happening.
I'm not buying Utah being a contender at all.
Okay.
That's not a real team. I just don't think that they're going to sustain. If they squeak into the playoffs, they're not going to make a deep run. And so I'll be looking out for them to not do well first. Okay.
That's fair.
Second,
they are 2-7 in the last, 9 games. So you're right. You're right to look for that.
Here it comes. And 2, I'm looking for the Dallas Mavericks to give Luka something, give something to
Something.
compliment him. They tried with Porzingis. Obviously,
Yep.
did not work out. That was a complete failure.
Porzingis,
But
quick shout out.
I admire the attempt.
Good year so far for
Mhm.
Porzingis. Now, we know the injuries are a thing, but just want to say Porzingis, somebody I've loved for a long time, ever since they booed him on draft night, having a good year. But you're right, did not work in Dallas. They're doing the whole thing with Christian Wood right now, but he's also on the
Yeah,
bench fighting for minutes.
it's Christian Wood. I'm waiting for the Mavericks, and then they will. I think they will make a move
You're
because
talking a real all-star, perennial all-star type of talent.
yep, don't know who it is. Couldn't even give you a name off the top of my head, but I'm looking out for the Mavericks to make a move to help Luka to make them even more so contenders because Luka is the second best player in the NBA. He's amazing. He's world class. He deserves it. He deserves to be the guy who brings another championship to Dallas.
We could argue that second best thing. Here's my thing. I actually am interested in that because when Harden was doing his thing in Houston, and it was 36 a game, like 12 assists, which is basically what Luka's doing now with the crazy high usage. Harden was the guy I always said was one of the best guys in the league. Luka, I'm still not sure. I don't know. I don't think he's nearly as efficient as he could be, and I know he's young, but he doesn't shoot the ball with great efficiency. Um, granted, I think a lot has to do with the team around him. I mean, we're looking right now at the ghost of Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean,
The
I don't think
ghost of Reggie Bullock.
I
What
don't
does that
think
mean? What is that? What was the real Reggie Bullock?
a knockdown shooter who was like
No, he did.
reliable,
Okay.
reliable 3-and-D guy,
Reliable.
reliable 3-and-D guy.
Reliable. Okay. Okay, that's
Now
fine.
he's unreliable.
He's unreliable. Yeah. Well, I don't think he
I'm
could
just
ever.
saying this team is shaky, and you're right. They need something. When KD was doing the whole trade requested trade over the summer, and it doesn't work because they don't have nearly enough to give. But in basketball heaven, I just see Luka and KD operating the wings, and I think that's basketball beauty offensively. I mean, KD is great defensively, Luka not so much, but offensively, I thought that would be awesome if Dallas could gut the rest of their team, but they still don't have enough to give. So I don't know. What I'm looking for, you're right. You're right about the Jazz thing. The Spurs were another team that started a little hot. They're now, I think, probably 13-1 on a 1-13 in their last 14 games. They just dropped 2 in a row to the Lakers, and that's tough. But good cherry pick wins for the Lakers here in San Antonio. So that's something that happens around this time. Teams that started hot that really aren't. This is where teams start to peter out. If you're not a legit team, the big boys start to take over. That being said, something I'm looking for here is who is the star this year? Who is the star this year that demands a trade, wants out? It's been like a player that we don't expect. That's been happening for a while now. It started with Anthony Davis in New Orleans. Every year we've kind of had somebody that just goes out of nowhere demanding a trade. I'm looking for who that is. I think we've already had it with Karl Towns a little bit, but they just doubled down on their team with Rudy Gobert. I don't think that changes anything. I think he'd still want out. Is this finally the year that Damian Lillard does some rumblings? Like, I know it's not his thing.
I don't know.
But everybody has a breaking point. Everybody has a breaking point. Wouldn't they at some point?
I just don't know if Damian Lillard's that guy. I feel like he's just gonna suffer and he's gonna ride with Portland until the wheels fall off. You know.
Then I'll give you my favorite. If I had to pick one. The Thunder are young, aspiring, good basketball team for what they are. A ton of draft capital. Say what you will about Chet. I'm not a fan at all, but he's coming back next year.
No, he's not.
I don't buy it. I thought it was crazy this year in the draft when you had a guy like Paolo Banchero who looks like LeBron. I mean, like he's 6'8", strong NBA body, and guys were saying you should take Chet Holmgren over him, who is like built like I was when I was like 16. Regardless, there's some good things happening in Oklahoma, but they are somehow getting too young for their 25-year-old star. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, has been lighting it up this year. Lighting it up. He leads the league in drives. I think he's above 32 points a game. He is incredible. I mean, I think the Clippers, at the time, you can't fault them. You traded him away and you got Kawhi and Paul George. You cannot fault them for that trade. But now they're probably kicking themselves because Kawhi hasn't played a full season since then, and they've done nothing to show for it. However, if their timeline is more that of a Victor Wembanyama draft pick this year and a Chet Holmgren type of timeline, and they try to send him home again this year, for the past couple of years, they've been telling SGA to go home so that way they stop winning games. I don't think he's going to stand for that this year. This is a guy who's, if the Thunder were any good at all as far as in the playoffs, a guy who's on MVP ballots. Is that a guy who wants to, as he's entering the prime of his career, like sit games? No.
Well, I think it's embarrassing, that whole situation. First of all,
for sure,
SGA is your guy.
Be competitive. Embrace your players.
I always thought that whoever drafted Chet is an idiot. I don't like him. I
think he's a pony. I think he's like a one-trick pony.
7'1", like 150. I mean, those legs are gonna snap. First of all, like that knee's got to go somewhere, right. And I don't like that. First of all, I could talk for hours about it, but yeah, no, you're totally right. I don't think he requests a trade this year. I don't even know if he does next year. But I don't think OKC is going to make him happy. I don't think OKC is going to put him in a position to win, and he deserves that. And that's just that's terrible. That's embarrassing. They should feel ashamed about it, quite honestly. Because he's incredible. He obviously, if you're the Clippers, I think you still make that trade. You have to make that trade because hindsight's 2020, of course. Sure. But yeah, and I don't understand as an organization what they're doing.
Clippers or the Thunder?
Well,
I think the thing with the Thunder is
afraid of playing a game.
Here's my thing with the Thunder. Sam Presti, the GM, gets more praise and love and flowers thrown at their feet than Sam Presti? Nobody. Because why?
Because he
stacks draft capital. Yeah. And that's impressive. And it's not easy to do, sure. But teams are every year valuing their first round picks less and less and less because these drafts are getting worse and worse and worse. And every year there's 1 to 3 redeemable stars in a draft and several players of note after them. And usually having a really high pick it's the furthest thing from a guarantee that you're going to get it right and get a player to build around. And with the players that you draft now asking out of their contracts in years 3 and 4, instead of having them for at least 8 years, these picks are getting less and less valuable. And I'm not saying that he's doing a bad job. I'm not saying he's not a great GM. He's excellent. But when we look at it, what is there to show for it right now when your team hasn't won a title since the Durant and Westbrook debacle where they all left? The team hasn't won. The team, since letting Westbrook go, has remained in this sloppy rebuild, and your number 2 overall pick is now out for the season. I would say you absolutely cannot trade 24-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have to show him something because he's at the point now, he's entering his prime. This guy has video game numbers. 31 points per game, 52% from the field, 35 36% from three, 5 rebounds a game, 6 assists, and a steal and a block a game from a guard. The guy's nuts. Don't send him home this year, and don't aim for the number one pick. There's no guarantees, and Wembanyama is built like Chet, and I don't like the way Chet's built. And I know Wembanyama is a freak show. Guys, no matter how they are not guaranteed to be healthy and not guaranteed to be stars. So when you get a star, build around them, commit to them. That's my thing with the Thunder. Use some of that draft capital. A lot of teams would probably trade their best players for some of those picks. And it doesn't look like they're looking to move in that direction. And it's a shame because they already have a good young roster, but they need help. And
yeah. And you said
I just
something.
Can't promote tanking anymore. I just can't.
No. And you said something that really kind of caught my attention, and that was Sam Presti's a great GM. Is he? Because he's great at getting draft capital. He's great at rebuilding. You can even say he's great at finding talent in the draft, drafting the players he should draft. We'll see on Chet. We could eat our words in 3 years. But he hasn't built a team that can compete deep into the playoffs. He doesn't have a championship. He doesn't have a conference final, He doesn't have any of that. But, he can draft good young players until he's blue in the face. He can acquire first-round picks. But if you don't do anything with that, if you can't build a playoff caliber team with that, then what does that say about you as your ability to rebuild successfully and develop your team to the point where it needs to be at? It's kind of like with
absolutely.
It's like not to bring our other team into this, but with Texas football. For the past 10 years, 5 stars, 4 stars, amazing talent has gone to Austin. And that's where it ends.
What?
Because, you get 2 to 3 draft picks a year. That's great, whatever. You should be getting Ohio State level draft picks, but you can't develop your recruits into talented college players to succeed in the NFL. And the same thing I feel like happens with Presti's teams is he can't develop his players and his team to the point it needs to be at, whether that be trading for veterans to flesh out the team, pulling the trigger on another all-star.
Well, they know how to trade for veterans. They traded for both Chris Paul and Al Horford and then sent them home in February.
Exactly. So
Al Horford's career got extended by several years just because he got a whole season off because they told him to beat it.
Maybe we do need to thank Sam Presti then.
Well, I don't want to totally discredit the man. The man did draft. No, and I know that's not what you're doing, but he did draft Durant, Westbrook, and now Durant fell into his lap. Anybody with the first pick would have taken Greg Oden. Come on, let's be real. And Durant was phenomenal. But to get Durant, Westbrook, Harden on the same team, as well as they drafted Ibaka, they drafted Nick Collison. I'm gonna post that meme, that Nick Collison meme. That'd be good on the Instagram. We have an Instagram, guys. Follow the Instagram. We have an Instagram. Remember?
Okay.
I don't know the login.
I just remember when I was really weird on the Twitter account for a spell.
We did.
That was fun.
We did have Twitter. Maybe we'd still do. I don't know. Regardless, we'll work on it. But I gotta agree. I mean, and I'm not just trying to brag on my team here, but the Celtics missed the playoffs once in their rebuild. One time they missed it. So don't tell me it's impossible to rebuild on the fly. You can rebuild, retool, build for the future while remaining competitive. And I think the league needs to do something to instill that in teams. And they've tried because the bottom picks aren't a guarantee at the number one pick now. Everybody's got the same shot at the number one pick in the 4 worst teams at least. But we should probably take it a step further. There's things we can do. Tanking is still through the roof. I can only imagine what the league will look like this year in March when everybody thinks they have a shot at the number one pick to get Victor Wembanyama. Like I said, I wouldn't advise tanking for somebody like that. He's already missed a lot of time in his young career overseas. Just saying, maybe we'll talk about that more as we get closer to the draft. Anyway, that was my guy, and I know we got off topic there, but it was for a good reason. Something that needed to be talked about. But that's who I was looking for if we're going to have a random star ask out. But I don't think Shea is that type of dude. I don't think the Thunder are that type of team. Any news, any notes, things we should, any housekeeping on the NBA? Things to check in on? Little housekeeping?
I still believe what I said 2 years ago,
All right, what'd you say 2 years ago?
in order for the Spurs to succeed, Pop needs to go because we still have the same issue. These young guys are coming in, they're learning his system, they're learning his way of basketball. And in 2 years, when he retires, the rug is going to be pulled out from underneath them, and that's going to be a whole other issue.
That's fair, and I don't disagree with it. And
they're a totally young team, completely rebuilding.
Fair, it's never hurt a player to learn from Pop. Look at all the great guys in the league. He's coached Team USA. They all love Pop, and I'm a little indifferent on Pop still being the coach. Like I'm good on it. Like he's done so much for the city and for this team. I'm not saying you should know when to let go, but maybe you should know when to let go. And I hope for the Spurs' sake, I don't know. It's weird to say to the guy who's coached you up to 5 championships to, hey, get lost.
But
this is a young team. The league is changing, and I'm not saying Pop can't change with time. He's coached for a very long time and succeeded in several different eras. But I would have loved to see a guy like Will Hardy get the reins to this team. I would have loved to see a guy like, he who shall not be named, prior to the Celtics thing. He's already coached the Spurs team before as the assistant. I would have loved to see a guy. I would love to see, the point being, a young coach get in with these guys, somebody who can really rebuild the culture here. I mean, the Spurs are down bad. They're towards the dead last in attendance. We don't really believe in this team. I think they have good talent. They just drafted the kid from Baylor. I'm a little torn on that. But Keldon Johnson is awesome. Devin Vassell is awesome. This team has something to look forward to, but I agree. I don't know that Pop is the guy who should be coaching this team. I don't know. The tank is probably going to be in full effect if it's not already, due to how they've performed. And I don't know if he's the guy for that. With that being said, is there anything else? I'm doing a little browse on some things. Let's touch real quickly, just because we haven't given the Western Conference really much attention. Let's do a quick. The West is wide open. Like wide. Like I don't know who.
Time.
I don't know who the Celtics are going to play in the finals, and that worries me.
Yeah, I mean,
because the Warriors are down bad.
The Warriors are down bad. The Suns are fraudulent again.
They're fraudulent. Chris Paul is not the same guy. He's finally not the same guy.
Lakers are obviously terrible. Clippers can't get Kawhi Leonard on the court at the same time as Paul George. Obviously, this has been the issue the whole time. The Nuggets, maybe.
To me, it's the Nuggets is the team that I look to as the real threat. The Suns are frauds because up until now, Devin Booker's awesome, but it's very clearly been Chris Paul's team.
Mm-hmm.
He's now a guy who's shooting 27% from 3, averaging 9 points a game. With pathetic defense.
Exactly.
And you could say what you will. He plays hard, but he's also battling injuries already. And that's to be expected with Chris Paul. He's, to his credit, remained healthy the last couple of years. But I don't think if Devin Booker's the best guy on your team, you're probably not a championship team.
No, and they're waiting. They're begging for DeAndre Ayton to take that next step. He's shown that he may or may not, and if he does, it probably won't be in Phoenix. He's wanted out for a while. He's made that abundantly clear. Well, and so that being said,
goes both ways.
The West is wide open. Call back to earlier. Mavericks, go give Luka somebody to play with.
Somebody.
Build your team around him finally and go play the Celtics in the finals. We want to see it. That's what we want. We want Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic on basketball's grandest stage in the month of June. That's what we want.
To be fair, and this goes back to my Durant and Dallas thing. Well, I have a couple of things real quick. The Suns feel an awful lot like a team that thought they were getting Kevin Durant this offseason. Because if you remember, it was like Ayton and Bridges and some picks was supposed to get it done. That felt like a light offer. And yeah, you look at this team and it's like they're missing something, and maybe they thought they were closer to the Durant thing, and so they didn't act on other things.
I could see that. I could see that as within the realm of possibility.
I'm just saying that's what I'm thinking. Now, we can't dump on them. They are the 1 seed in the West. Granted, they're only a game up on the Nuggets, a game and a half up on the Grizzlies. Maybe it's the Grizzlies. I don't know. I don't think Ja is there yet. Obviously, in a perfect world, everybody's healthy. It's the Clippers. They're the favorite, but he's doing Kawhi things right now. He's in street clothes every night, and I don't know what to think of that. I would love for the Nuggets to be that team. I'm as big of a Jokic fan as anybody. And he is probably the best player in the conference. I mean, he's only the 2-time back-to-back MVP, so I think that's fair to say. And the Nuggets do look really good, and they're healthy. Got a chance to see them here in San Antonio. They are a scary offense. Defensively, got some things to work on. Aaron Gordon, the best player on the floor, is special on that side of the ball. I don't know. All I know is that at the end of the day, it won't matter who comes out of the West, Ryan. And that's because the Joe Mazzulla Celtics, led by Batman Grant Williams,
Grant Williams.
They're the team to beat.
He's vengeance, you know. That's what I hear.
He's vengeance. That's what they're saying in the locker room and around town.
In the post-game workouts.
Real quick, I had a great time talking basketball with you, bud. Today was NFL Football Sunday. We had an excellent day of games. If I do say so myself, we had an awesome Thursday slate as well. Got to top off an awesome meal with some awesome games, even though our beloved Patriots were screwed so hard.
It was a catch.
On a Hunter Henry touchdown catch that was called back. And what was the other one? What was the other call we got? Needless to say, not going to complain here, but I'm thankful for the great football this week. I'm thankful to get a huge win in fantasy this week. You're rolling.
I'm rolling again, baby. Marquise Brown is back.
Double-digit wins for you?
Good. Yep, 10-2. The gamblers roll through week 12. I'm happy. You're happy.
I'm happy because you're back. Last year, you took the year off almost is what it felt like.
Wasn't a good showing.
Wasn't a good showing. Wasn't your best showing, but you and I are finally back where we belong, towards the top of the standings, and feels good. And our buddy Will Glover, who you mentioned earlier, is not. And that is the part that feels the best.
Oh, it's so satisfying to see him down. God.
Drew, you're well missed in the league, but also not because you're serving your 1-year suspension for collusion last year. And
he compromised the integrity of the game.
He compromised the integrity of the league, and that's just not okay. However, he is in the fantasy group chat now, and I don't know how to feel about that. I'm
okay with it.
I'm okay with it. I'm good with it till he acts out of pocket.
I don't think he realizes it's the fantasy group chat, though. I don't think
so. I don't think so. Even though we're talking about our teams, right? I don't think he knows. Does he know that he doesn't? No, he doesn't. He didn't know. Speaking of which, we've been playing a lot of COD. That's been fun. If you've been enjoying Modern Warfare 2, tell me give me your loadout. If you've been enjoying Modern Warfare 2, I'm trash. I need a better loadout.
You do.
I'm just running around aimlessly out there.
It's fun. You have your whole system. I enjoy watching it. Brutal to watch, but I enjoy it. It's like a bad car accident.
Brutal. Yeah,
you want to look away, but you can't. Like, it's someone's dead.
Absolutely.
mm,
It's horrible. And it's
it's
usually
terrible.
me.
No,
It's usually
exactly.
me.
It's bad.
And
It's bad. But sometimes you
it's
surprise
horrible.
us, and it's a lot of fun.
I know.
And I think you're gonna get better. I think you're gonna get there.
With
I'm waiting to
time,
see it. With
with
time,
practice,
with
we're gonna get there.
practice, with patience, with the will of God, and I believe it. And I believe you will have it.
Amen.
I think that being said, we're gonna wrap up this episode. I
think so.
apologize
I
to.
think that's 50 minutes, and I think
I apologize
that's a
to
good
our
show.
friend Drew Ramesh. We ran out of time this week, but you know what? Stick around.
You
We'll try
know.
to have you on next week.
Next Sunday. Call in.
Next Sunday.
Little housekeeping on the podcast. We've got a website now, and there's a feature for anybody who's listening where you can submit voice messages.
Oh
and
God.
So we can have you on the show. And we can actually get you in live if we ever deemed you a worthy guest of that. Probably going to be a long time before we bring in a third person to the mix. However, that being said, I think it's a cool tool, the little voicemail thing. I expect nothing but trolls from our friends right now, since it's new and we're getting our feet back under us. But nonetheless, check it out, thesplashpod.com. It's just a good way to stay in touch. Make sure you're subscribed. If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a review. Check us out on YouTube. Wherever you enjoy your podcasts, we are there waiting for you. I've had a great time. Ryan has been rubbing his mustache.
I have a mustache.
I don't know what to think of it.
It's good.
I'm still indifferent on it. I don't mind it. It looked better a few days ago.
It'll look better in a few days.
It will.
So that being said, before
Ryan,
I hit the outro for the first time in
take it
forever,
away.
to all the charlatans out there, the Splash Podcast, the Splash Basketball, Daddy's home. Daddy's home. He's wearing his rings. He's had a few
he's
drinks.
pissed. And he's pissed.
He's mad at you. Oh, Jesus Christ, is he mad at you?
You should have seen him at the office. And he's
That
home
being
now.
That being said, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Splash. It feels good to be back in the saddle with my boy Spencer. If you enjoyed this, please remember to leave a like, comment, review, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check us out on Instagram, maybe Twitter. Stay tuned for that. Check out our website, thesplashpod.com, and we will see you next week. I promise.